Hello, and welcome to our virtual broadcast of Operations Meet Preparedness, presented by Joshua Miller, Rich Norman, and Cody Dye. Cody has been with LANL Emergency Preparedness Organization since February of 2020. Prior to that, he worked as an emergency preparedness coordinator for Savannah River remediation at the Savannah River site. Rich is the senior emergency preparedness coordinator for science and technology operations, also at LANL. Rich has more than 30 years' experience in the DOE complex in both nuclear and non-nuclear operations. Joshua, also at LANL, is an emergency operations manager in the Emergency Preparedness Group and has been with LANL since 2008. He has been involved in various emergency response projects and activities. And unfortunately, this presentation is packed full of information, so we won't have time for Q&A, but please click on the names of the presenters below and email them your questions if you get any, if any come up. Please join me in welcoming Joshua Miller, Rich Norman, and Cody Dye to the virtual stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rich Norman. I'm with Los Alamos. We're here to present Operations Meet Preparedness. The three of us who wrote this, Josh Miller, myself, Rich Norman, and Cody Dye, all are emergency preparedness coordinators at LANL. The agenda today, initial efforts to develop a normal condition drill program, implementation, and integration with operations staff. To begin, a little background of restart activities that identified a problem with the drill program. In 2015, we had a restart of plutonium fabrication number 4 at TA-55. The contractor readiness assessment team identified a need to implement operational drills for certified operators. Essentially, we didn't have anything in place for the operators to show how they did what-if scenarios or upset conditions. The training staff was tasked to develop operational drill program plan, and that was managed by the facility operations director, who is the essentially one-stop shopping for the safety envelope for a facility. Deployed emergency preparedness staff assisted in this effort, but ad hoc adaptation at other nuclear facilities made it a problem with inconsistent application site-wide. So we weren't consistent. We needed to do something else. And along with this, we had a low oxygen alarm response problem. In 2016, a researcher entered a research area to clear an active oxygen monitor alarm. This was classified as a near-miss event. We were lucky we didn't have any injuries. The event was reviewed by the Office of the Inspector General. A contributing cause that they came up with was that the individual was not trained properly on response to the given alarm. The researcher, in what his own words said, believed that he could hold his breath long enough to shut down the nitrogen supply and clear the alarm. This was, amongst other things, just a reason to show that our researchers were of a mindset of correcting problems and not responding to alarms. After the Office of the Inspector General report actions were put in place, some of these actions included identification of all alarms, placement of alarms in maintenance tracking system, scheduling of alarm preventative maintenance, and scheduling of alarm drills. Due to coordination issues and other priorities, not all of these actions were completed for all areas at LANL. So again, we had an ad hoc response to this event. We had another event in last year. where two individuals heard the active oxygen alarm. They started by doing the right thing. They made notifications, but then when they didn't get the right answers or a response right away, they didn't wait. They went in and they shut off the nitrogen supply and opened doors to clear the alarm. A contributing factor of this event was that there was not a program in place for individuals to drill the proper response to the alarm. So we got notifications or indications from people that they heard the alarm, they hear the alarm, they didn't know what to do. Even though some of their training, their initial training, it's only one-time training, tells them what to do. So a major action from this event was for Emergency Management Division to develop and implement an abnormal condition drill program at LANL. We took the action, Emergency Management Division, took the action because we're the ones who are used to doing drills and exercises. Okay, for implementation, I'm going to turn this over to Josh.
My name is Josh Miller. I'm a Senior Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. I'm here at Los Alamos National Laboratory, and I'll be talking through the implementation and some of the challenges and strategies that we've been using as we have been developing our abnormal condition drill program. So our our initial strategy consisted of a couple of things. We initially needed to better understand what was being implemented at the facilities. So we took an opportunity and reviewed all of the current status of who had abnormal condition drill programs. What did those documents look like? I'm here at the laboratory, and what requirements were they meeting? And we went and looked at kind of the current status of all of those and tried to better understand what was happening. Our facility operations and programmatic staff had basically developed their own programs, largely initially based on readiness activities at PF4. Right, we had some training staff that had developed those activities. We had other staff that were developing their own abnormal condition drill programs from a programmatic standpoint. And so, they ran the gamut as far as who had what programs, and mostly these were implemented at our nuclear facilities. So one of the unique pieces of abnormal condition drills, sometimes called operational drills, is it's a biennial requirement for certified operators to participate in these drills. And so that was being tracked in some cases by our training staff who have been deployed out to the facilities to help with the implementation of that. As we went through this and looked at all the different programs that had been set up and all the different ways that we were tracking those, we really kind of immediately realized we needed to have a standardized program, and that's some of the challenges that were happening. A lot of that again was driven by our low oxygen alarm events, and that was a significant driver to recognize that we drill emergency events and we exercise emergency events, but abnormal events that don't rise to the level of emergency might not be receiving the same level of attention that's needed. Our deployed emergency preparedness staff, again, are the experts in conducting emergency drills and exercises, and their help has varied over the years, depending on workload and other factors for the implementation. So that's kind of our initial strategy, was to review, where those deployed emergency preparedness staff have been helping. So So some of the implementation challenges that we've been looking at is trying to better understand roles and responsibilities. That challenge of who actually is responsible for conducting abnormal condition drills. What's the responsibility of the emergency management division for abnormal condition drills, and how do we bridge those gaps, and what's the role of the programmatic staff and responsible line managers. All of those, are challenges that we immediately saw. There was a disconnect in how we define those roles and responsibilities. Another challenge that we ran into was just terminology. We have various terminology or terms that we've been using for abnormal condition drills, right? In some cases, they're referred to as conduct of operations drills, operational drills. Sometimes people even confuse emergency drills, upset condition drills. One of the challenges that we've been having is coming up with the right terminology and language, and that not only spans what we're trying to do here at LANL, but also among the DOE orders, which are very different, again, with the terminology. The challenge with, where does facilities and programmatic staff who really own the operations space versus emergency management, where we, kind of understand and can walk through those upset conditions that turn into emergency conditions, but where does that space lie, right, as far as ownership of the program between an abnormal condition and something that can be handled at a facility level versus an emergency condition, right, where we start implementing the requirements out of the DOE orders. Another challenge that we're running into is implementation by responsible line managers. Operational drills, abnormal condition drills are really the responsibility of our programmatic and operations staff. And so the challenge of taking responsible line managers who have little or no experience running and conducting and documenting emergency drills certainly is quite a challenge. And then lastly, some of the other implementation challenges that we're dealing with, just deal with how the scope of how we scope the abnormal condition drills. If you think about what could be considered an abnormal event, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of scenarios that could fall into that realm of abnormal conditions. And so how do you appropriately scope that so that we are meeting the needs of the workers and meeting the challenges that we're facing with the scoping of abnormal condition drills. So in order to kind of overcome some of those challenges that we've had, we've realized that there's a need to immediately meet with our facility operations staff, key stakeholders, key management personnel to really understand what we're dealing with when we talk about an operational drill program or abnormal condition drill program. So we held those meetings early on in the implementation process, and it was really a pretty good consensus that emergency management would go through and develop key procedures, templates, those kinds of things that we would basically own the larger abnormal condition drill program and oversee its implementation, but that would be implemented through our facilities and our responsible line management. Again, we're the expert in conducting emergency drills and drill conduct and documentation and all of those kinds of things that that sometimes people who aren't familiar with emergency management and not their day job would maybe struggle with conducting those type of drills. And so, we're going to leverage the expertise of our emergency management division to help our facilities and help our operations staff to implement the abnormal condition drill program. As part of this, our facilities have helped fund additional emergency preparedness staff to help with that effort, and that's been a big win for us to get some extra staff in that have a background in emergency management, background in conducting drills and exercises, to come in and help with the implementation of the emergency or with the abnormal condition drill program. Now, standardization. So, as part of this effort, emergency management division is standardizing the abnormal condition drill program across the site. We're getting rid of those individual drill programs that individual facilities have had in place of a single unified abnormal condition drill program that applies to the entire site. And that will be standardized. It will have a consistent documentation, consistent expectations, and that is a very key piece instead of having individual mini programs out there. And the abnormal condition drill program plan provides those clear roles and responsibilities, clear understanding of emergency management division's role, the facilities role, and the operations staff, and how do we bridge the gap between those two. Our emergency preparedness staff manage the abnormal condition drill program. Largely that is administrative in nature. That's tracking drills, that's doing drill schedules, that's working through all of those kind of administrative type things that are involved in managing a program. Also, the emergency preparedness staff are also mentoring and helping assist the responsible line managers as we implement the program. We have set the expectation that our facility operations staff and also our programmatic staff work together and join together to develop drill schedules so that we can make sure that we're integrating, again, our operations staff, our programmatic staff together into to a single point of contact for those facilities. We're developing an annual drill schedule that will help with setting the expectations where we can measure and monitor metrics and look at how folks are implementing the emergency or the abnormal condition drill program. There are several hundred responsible line managers at the laboratory who potentially could conduct abnormal condition drills, and that's a real challenge. How do you track and train everybody? How do you identify all of those kinds of things the scenarios that they would be involved in? What does that look like? And so we've really scoped that down to provide a reasonable number of responsible line managers and looking at training them, little bites and pieces, right? And going through how we would train all of those RLMs, taking small groups at a time and going through that. But not all responsible line managers are going to conduct drills initially. Our scoping is going to focus primarily on our hazards, high hazard facilities, and we'll be taking kind of a graded approach with our core program facilities. And then, of course, we want to certainly focus on low oxygen alarm response, what that looks like, and make sure that we have a consistent application of requirements across the laboratory. We are drilling through abnormal condition drills the workers to make sure that they understand the response to that. I think that's a fairly high priority for the laboratory in response to some recent events that Rich discussed. Now I'll turn it back over to Rich. He'll be talking about how we are, some of the details about how we integrate with operations. And thank you.
All right, onward with integration with operations. The ownership of the abnormal condition drill program plan is by facility operations. They'll have the ownership of it. Emergency response, emergency management division will own the portion of developing the plan and assisting with the program. The templates that we have for the facility operation directors and responsible line managers will be developed by EMD. EM staff is available and will be available to assist in the effort as resources permit. And this will be handled by the facility operations director. Training for this effort, EM will develop initial and continuing training for responsible line managers or other individuals who plan, conduct, document, evaluate abnormal condition drills. The training will include information on scheduling, developing, conducting, documenting drills. Additional personnel must receive training to include designated drill planners, those collecting drill packages, those conducting drills, and all the other things that are associated with the way we handle drills and exercises for emergency response. Roles and responsibilities of operations personnel. The largest one is with our facility operations directors. They are the key to this program. They will own it and they will receive drill schedule inputs from the RLMs and approved schedule of abnormal condition drills for their organization. They'll submit the schedule and they'll provide resources where necessary. There are also places where we have certified operators and have applicable qualified operations staff. They need to maintain their training requirements and they participate in the ACDs needed to maintain their certification and qualification. The FOD training staff maintains the U-Train records for certified operators. U-Train is our system of doing training online and maintaining certifications. They will provide credit for ACD completion in U-Train also. Responsible line managers. They'll complete initial and ongoing training to conduct ACDs. They'll identify, develop, manage, and approve drill scenarios. They'll develop the schedule. They'll perform the applicable USQ or USI process for each operations-based ACD plan. They'll ensure certified positions fulfill continuing training to include the biennial ACD requirements of DOE Order 426.2. Operations will also evaluate worker performance to improve proficiency. They'll document the ACD performance. They'll document real-world events for ACD credit as applicable. Not all ACD real-world events will be credited. There are some times where we'll have an oxygen alarm go off in an unoccupied room. You probably don't want to give a certified operator credit if he wasn't around to take credit for it. We will develop corrective actions, enter and track issues, provide resources, and distribute lessons learned. So the operations personnel are taking full credit for this and taking full ownership for this program. In summary, the previous incidents with low oxygen alarms identified a need for the implementation of the abnormal condition drill program at LANL, as well as the incidents at the management assessments at nuclear facilities. And initial strategy and implementation challenges were noted and are noted, as well as ways to overcome those challenges. Facility operations will have ownership of the program with some assistance from the emergency management staff. Required training, roles, and responsibilities for operations personnel have been determined and have been agreed to with facility operations. Questions? We leave it up to everybody to call in for questions, and we'll be happy to answer what we can. Thank you.
Thanks again, Cody, Rich, and Joshua, for your time and your informative presentation. Since we're out of time, please remember to click on their names underneath this presentation and email them with any of your questions. Also, don't forget to complete your survey, and that way you can get credit for attending this session. The next session we'll have is Bridging Emergency Management with Cyber Utilities, Intelligence Media, and more, which you can select it from the schedule on the left, or you're always welcome to join another channel to watch an SBX demonstration, attend a workshop, or participate in a user group. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.